Audio test, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Resignation.
Yeah.
What time? The cell tower is right.
You don't have to be so precise.
I'll be a piece of stars here.
Early, 5 minutes early at the end.
Dr. Dyer, this is new too, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, there's y'all ready to start? Can you hear me through the plastic? This is wonderful. We really appreciate this, Dr. Dyer. These partitions, Julie, Al, whoever they came from, this is great because we don't have anybody within 6 feet of us this way, so we can take our masks off. So thank you for that. That's good. Although we all needed to wear them so we can have a great appreciation for what our teachers have to go through. Okay, we will begin the meeting. Start for us.
Yes, ma'am. If we go bow our heads in a moment of silence. And now for the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Board members, you have the consent agenda in front of you, which includes approval of the regular agenda, approval of the minutes from the September 8th board meeting, overnight field trip, second reading of one policy, new Cleveland High School sports request, Chromebook lease agreement, surplus school buses and van, and CHS new credit card request. Would anyone like to review anything from the agenda?
I'd like to, please, if we could take the credit card request, I have a question about that.
Okay, let's put that down under the after the spotlight. We'll put that discussion down under the credit card request. Any other items to remove? If not, I need a motion to approve the consent agenda. Carolyn,
Second.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. All right, well, we will go right to Dr. Dyer's update.
Okay, we're going to hold that up on the screen here. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. Doing well, and for those watching as well. This week is National School Lunch Week. So this is a week for celebrations in our school cafeterias with our students and our staff that are preparing those wonderful meals for our kids each and every day and our adults in the building. So just wanted to say how much I appreciate the work that they're doing and really thank them for the behind the scenes actions that happen each and every day to make sure our staff and our students are taken care of. So National School Lunch Week is this week, and this is also National Principals Month. So again, showing appreciation for our principals. We'll be doing a little social media campaign with that coming up fairly soon. You'll want to pay attention to that. We can actually email you that if you don't follow our Twitter account or whatever, but we will be doing some things to show our appreciation for the hard work that our principals do and definitely appreciate them as well. Going along with that, Dr. Lang has been named, and I think you already know this, as a finalist for Tennessee Department of Education Principal of the Year. And on October 20th, there's an online session for TDOE that evening, I think at 6 o'clock our time, where they'll be announcing the winner for that contest. So we know Dr. Lang is a superb principal, not only for our system, but also across the state. A lot of people call on her for advice, especially in the middle school realm. So appreciate what she does, and we hope that she becomes a winner for the state of Tennessee. So we will see how that goes. Before fall break, I had the opportunity to go to the high school and also to the middle school to speak to students regarding leadership. Spoke with the leadership class at the high school, one of the leadership classes, and that's always the highlight to go in and just listen to the students and hear their feedback, and they asked good questions. So that was a lot of fun. And at the middle school, I had the opportunity to speak to Coach Morris's engineering and digital media class. So a lot of fun there to talk about leadership and the different things we're doing inside the system. Again, Students are not afraid to ask anything they want to ask, and that's part of the fun of Stump the Director is what we play, and that's always a highlight of any part of the year. This year, instead of going to Gatlinburg for our yearly TOS and TDOE study council meeting, we met online, had a 1 hour session per day, which is not too bad. Usually it's an 8 hour session of sitting in the conference room. So this year it was a 1 hour, and you can sit in your office or outside as long as you have Wi-Fi wherever you want to sit. But really good sessions for superintendents. Ron Johnson, our Hamilton County Superintendent, just down the road, was named Superintendent of the Year, so congratulations to him. And just had a good conference with both TDOE and TOS. They did a great job putting it together. I also was asked to go and speak about our reopening of schools. I spoke to the Tennessee House of Representatives Education Summer Committee, summer study there, and had the opportunity to share the Cleveland City School story and to answer questions from representatives about our reopening. You may have watched some of that online. It is archived if you want to go back and watch that if you have several hours to spend. That went overtime that day because they had a lot of questions about reopening and suggestions for things that might happen when the legislature comes back in session in January. So a lot of things to discuss there. It was a good opportunity. Something I don't have on there, but came out today, and I've emailed you the link, TSBA, the new journal that came out. We were one of the featured school systems in there talking about reopening. So I sent the link to you. We're also sending it to BCPEF, our city councilman and mayor and other folks that will, just a great story about what we did to reopening schools. And it's not all about me, it's about all of us, school board, staff, students. It's a good article and it's well done, written by our one, Julie right there. So good job on that. The Debhart Classic was before fall break. That's our elementary cross-country race that this year was hosted at Stewart Elementary School. And I just want to give a shout out to our elementary PE teachers. They did a fantastic job of working with our youngsters to get them out, get them excited about running and exercise. And that was a lot of fun to go watch the girls and the guys. The front of Stewart can sometimes become a little bit of a swimming pool out there. So, we were joking that if the rain kept, we'd have a swimming race instead of a cross-country race, but luckily it stayed fairly dry and there were only a few puddles, and I only saw a few of the kids fall in the puddles, so that wasn't too bad. They loved it anyway, so good seeing that take place. A recent grant that we were awarded came from the Community Foundation of Cleveland and Bradley County, and this is going to allow us now to have Wi-Fi in all the parking lots of our schools. We already have this at the middle school, help me out, Cody, and White Bower. So now we will be able to expand that out to all of our schools. So families that need some internet time and may not be able to have that at their home, we're not going to be able to have that in the parking lot spaces of all of our schools. Just a reminder, you have to have a laptop or device owned by Cleveland City Schools to connect to that. So that's something that we're working toward. And we're also providing some grants to help us move forward with strategic planning, some of the things that we want to do to move forward with that. So thank you to the Community Foundation for that help. And also the Rotary Foundation and our Noonday Rotary Club. The Raider Reader program is something that we're very proud of. This is a program that we give our youngsters, our first and second graders, a book before they leave for every break. So before we left for fall break, all the first and second graders received a book. And I had the opportunity to go over to Stewart with Mrs. Bender and did a little reading about dinosaurs to the kids before they left. That's fun to do as well. So that's a nice grant. We appreciate that, and helps with our literacy program and helping to build libraries for books at the kids' homes. So now they can have books at home and books at school, which is fantastic. And just finally, some upcoming legal seminars coming up next week is Legal Week with TOS and TSBA. These are all virtual now. One was going to be in Knoxville, but we just received word that it's now virtual. We'll be starting off with FERPA and child abuse reporting. There's new laws regarding child abuse reporting in Tennessee. Title IX is a big topic. That will be on Tuesday. Employment law, I believe, is Wednesday. And then Friday, we end the week with a lot of fun dealing with budgeting, purchasing, bidding, and contracting. So what better for a Friday entertainment than talk about purchasing and bidding all day? So that should be a lot of fun. So those are my updates as far as what's happening. I do have one additional thing from Hal Taylor's department. thank you for your approval of the surplus school buses, but we also have 2 brand-new buses, which will be arriving tomorrow. So that's always good to see 2 new shiny buses delivered, and we'll make sure to get some pictures of those out there on the internet too. So that's my report for today.
Very good. Exciting news. All right, Dr. Dyer, are you going to do the AP scholars or?
Actually, Mrs. Ector is going to come up, and
Gosh,
we're going to have a virtual presentation this year of our AP scholars. So
Welcome. Thank you for coming.
You know, Ms. O'Brien is number one when it comes to multitasking, but we can't clone her, so I'm representing her.
she has gone to volleyball to support our volleyball girls in the regionals.
Yes. So I'm here, first of all, AP scholars this year, we had 27 total, some of them have graduated. And we have a PowerPoint presentation that shows the students that are presently at Cleveland High School. So if you roll their footage, please. And I have to say that a nice looking group of students also. And I'll just tell you what the AP Scholar is granted to students who receive scores of 3 or higher on 3 or more AP exams. And then AP Scholar with honors are students who receive an average score of 3.25 on all AP exams and scores of 3 or higher on 4 or more of these exams. AP Scholar with distinction is granted to students who receive an average score of at least 3.5 on all AP exams taken and scores of 3 or higher on 5 or more of those exams. So you can see they put together this PowerPoint. It looks really good. I hate students couldn't be here, but they do understand why. But we have a nice group of young people that we should be very, very proud of. We have juniors included in that group also. So those are the students who are with us still in the building right now.
Anybody have any questions for us? Well, take our congratulations.
And if you would stop right there, if you know the similarity. We know this one, yes.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Pretty awesome. It's not an easy task, I don't imagine.
It's not easy, but she makes it appear to be so easy.
Congratulations all.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for being here and presenting that. All right, we put the credit card discussion for schools.
Well, actually, we have one more.
We did?
Mike here.
Mike here.
Oh, we cannot forget. That's all right.
Is
He
he
can
gonna,
come on in.
I was gonna say, you better be in here.
Well, you're trying to believe.
Thank y'all for having us. I'm Sarah Whitener. I'm the assistant principal at Candies Creek, and I've had the privilege of working with Mike at Mayfield, and he followed me to Candies Creek. But when we were informed that Officer Harris would be receiving the Law Enforcement Commendation Medal from the National Society of the Sons of the American Revolution, we weren't very surprised. And that is a long honor. We work with him every day, and we see the great job he does. When Chief Gibson came to our school to take part in the presentation, he stated many reasons why Officer Harris was deserving of this honor, and all of the reasons revolved around his high level of dependability, work ethic, and loyalty. At school, we all know that Officer Harris has received many awards and has been a patrol officer, a member of the SWAT team, an instructor in different capacities, and my favorite, he even detects explosives with his canine partner. However, his role as our SRO is the most important to our Thunderbird staff, families, and students. His role with us involves more than just protecting us. He is a role model for all of our students and models respect and kindness to everyone. He guides us and connects us with resources when we have concerns about students. He helps watch over our campus and troubleshoots problems with security and sometimes even maintenance concerns. His response is always the same whether we ask him to help unload an 18-wheeler full of outdoor furniture, which happened right before break, or to speak to a concerned parent, or to take care, now this is Miss Irby's, this is not mine, of giant spiders that find their way into our office. He deals with every situation with a smile and patience and with a positive and willing attitude. Thank you, Officer Harris, for the consistent good example that you set for all of us and for being an integral part of our Thunderbird family. We appreciate your service to our school community and to the larger Cleveland community. Mike is great to work with. I can't
Yes.
say that enough.
Anybody have any comments for Officer Harris? Charlie?
I worked with Mike a lot back in the days when we could have crowds at Bradley Cleveland games, football or whatever, but, you know, some of those situations get a little tough sometimes, but Mike was so good at handling whoever was mad at me or him or whatever, but he did a great job, and he's always been a very good officer and wanted to be a first-class officer, and you are. Congratulations.
Thank you, appreciate
We're
it.
lucky to have you at
Yeah.
Clinton City Schools.
Thank you.
Mike was also my SRO for how many years, Mike?
3 years.
3 years. And not only that, but I had his children. So you know, we're part of the staff.
Oh, yeah.
Did a great job.
We love that. Thank you. Anybody else?
I will just say I appreciate what Officer Harris does and our whole SRO team. We just have a fantastic team in all of our schools, and, you know, we just replicate you everywhere. That would be fantastic. We appreciate your service, and always good to see you when I visit Kansas Creek.
Thank you so much. We all enjoy working with every one of y'all. Appreciate it.
You know, when I talk to other school systems and I tell them we have SROs in our elementary school, they think that's horrible. And then when I tell them about what our SROs do, then they go, well, you're right, that's a great thing to have. And I'm glad that, and we started that a long time ago. That was a priority for us. And we think the partnership with Cleveland Police Department, superintendent and principals and their staff has just been outstanding. So thank you for being around for a while.
Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You're allowed to leave now. Okay, now we'll do credit cards. Okay, Krista asked to pull that off the consent agenda, and Krista, with your permission, Dr. Dyer's got some information he wants to give us, and then I'll turn over the floor to you for your questions. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay.
So the credit cards, I'm gonna have Cindy come up to the podium too. I want you to come up and be able to answer the financial type questions that you're the viewer here of this. We did find out that TSBA today has a model policy on credit cards, and they also have a model procedure that goes along with that. So I'm gonna ask Julie if you could to just pass this out. This is the first one you're gonna get is the model credit card, credit lines, and policy that we have not done anything with other than copy and paste, or copy for you. And then the second one would be a procedure that we work with. Again, blanks are empty, all those kind of things. We literally just got this today. So I want to give that Julie handout. I need to know those procedures. The other procedure. Yeah. Thank you. So what you're going to get is a copy of this, and the credit card, credit lines, policy. If we want to go forth with this, you know, one of the things we need to insert here is the word schools, you know, because it talks about district credit cards shall be maintained. So something in the effect of district or school credit cards, and we would need to do that throughout this document to make sure that we're handling this. Thank you. The second paragraph talks about the director of school designee shall review and approve card transactions. Designee could be the school principal in that case. So those are kind of things that we would need to add to, you know, a procedure such as this to make it conform. Credit cards are something that are currently in use in Cleveland City Schools. We have credit cards for the district office, for example. I carry one. But also in a number of our schools, we have credit cards that have been in use for quite a few years. And, you know, the reason that this particular one for the high school has to be on the agenda, the bank that the high school uses requires the board to approve and have in minutes that the board has approved for the high school to apply for a credit card. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's why it's on the board agenda. Usually it's something the director approves. And this has gone back past administrations, I don't know how long, but anyway, this is something that's in use and been out there for a while. So the credit card, credit line policy from TSBA basically goes through and it talks about how do you use credit cards and what are the safeguards. Of course, the biggest safeguard is if you turn to page 2, is the Tennessee Internal School Uniform Accounting Procedure Manual, which is a mouthful. And it is a huge document, and that's what Cindy lives by each and every day to keep the district on the right side of the wall. And our auditors use that to audit us. We just got a clean audit, by the way. I said congratulations to the business department for that. But auditors are okay with credit cards as long as you follow the Tennessee rules regarding those. And then you also have here, we do have an internal procedure that we use today. It's mainly geared toward the district the way it's written, so it's one of the things that I was glad to see this, and this is something we can modify to work with both district and school credit cards to make sure everybody stays in compliance. 'Cause, you know, credit cards, there has to be, for example, it talks about here, the credit card will be maintained in the, well, it would be the bookkeeper's office. And then the use of credit cards as well as ensuring compliance with procedures shall be monitored by the, and again, probably the bookkeeper of the school. Employees, how do you check them out? How do you log who has it? When does it log back in? What has to happen on that log? How do you go about, all those kind of procedures. The POs still have to be, the purchase order still has to be documented in advance of a purchase. All the same rules you would have for anything else still have to be in place for credit cards, just like you would getting a school check to go buy something or anything else. Specific questions that board members may have regarding credit cards, they either Cindy or I can try to answer for you today.
I was curious, I know with most purchases, there's a limit to what different levels of employees can purchase without whatever approval. Is there going to be a limit on credit card purchases?
We haven't discussed that, but I can tell you that for the most part, the schools that have the credit cards now, they don't let teachers take the credit card. So one school, the credit card never leaves the office. So whatever they're purchasing is being done by the principal. And for schools that do let the teacher take it, it would only be for like their $200 BEP allocation that they receive.
Is there a limit to what principals have?
Well, they would just be guided by our purchasing procedures, our purchasing procedures. So I don't know the answer to that really, but I can definitely look into that. We can
The
establish
PO would
that.
have to be established as well.
They're their internal POs. They're not POs that are running through here.
But that's something when we get into the procedural part of it, those are the kind of things we can write in and go through and look, and probably need to have a discussion with the bookkeepers as a whole and principals about what do those limits, what do those parameters need to look like that would fit into. So if this is the policy that we go with, how do we write the procedures to fit whatever we want them to fit inside of this? And then, we need to put a limit of, I'm just making this up, $300 is a limit without a specific purchase order approved by business director or whatever the case is. We can always write those kind of rules into the plan. So those are options that we have.
I would say that a limit would have to be a little bit higher, and couldn't be like $500, because a lot of times what they're doing is going and doing registrations and charging it to their credit card. And then they will ask us to reimburse them for that through the general fund. And we've done that. So I've seen $1,300, $1,400, but it's where they've registered all the assistant principals for a conference or something.
I just think having some limit, even if it's a high limit, 5,000 or whatever, some sense of a limit would be helpful.
So would it be helpful, board, to have Dr. Dyer and Cindy bring this back to us, fill out, to vote on at the next meeting? I mean, obviously, this isn't our policy, it hasn't been written. Dr. Dyer just got this right before the meeting, and I asked him to copy it and bring it to us, and then work out the details. And of course, that's administrative procedure, and we don't necessarily approve that, but we can see what it is after we approve that. And just put this off. Will this hamper the high school if we don't approve that right now?
I don't think it was an emergency to get the credit card like this week, but, because they knew they were gonna have to wait for board minutes and all that, so.
So, Peggy?
It's a crazy question, but some credit card companies give you points for spending so much. Would that be something that the system could use as a reward for teachers, or a trip that somebody had to take, so you save some money on it?
It depends on the credit card, if it's one of the cards that lets you earn points. Our specific credit card doesn't. You don't earn any extra points, right? So.
Can I mention one other thing? I noticed here where it talks about the bookkeeper or a separate employee shall check off on purchases. So whatever you guys develop in your policy or your procedures, it would be helpful to designate kind of those two disinterested parties that would either checks and balances or whatever, a little bit more specifically.
And we do have that in place right now, even for checks or anything else. Anytime the bank statement comes, you have to go through those different checks and balances.
Yeah, for us, I check off the credit card with the receipts that I have, but Mallory's the one that opens it, and then she checks off the ones she has that are with purchase orders, so.
That's more of a challenge in the elementary schools though, because they don't have as many, the secretary there is also the bookkeeper, but that's hard because she opens the mail and.
Well, as far as segregation of duties, it should be the principal who's opening the bank statement, so they would be the ones to open the credit card statement as well, and then hand it off to the administrative assistant for the bookkeeper.
So that would be put in your administrators.
I know when I've been principal in school, that's what I've always done. The bank statement always came to me. And I opened it and I reviewed it first, and then I gave it to the bookkeeper and we signed off on it. And that's how you make sure that everything's up and up.
Is that okay with the board then? We won't have to vote on that. Charlie?
That one thing in that athletic reservations, like boys soccer or boys basketball for the state with no problems. Anytime the girls would win on a Saturday night, next week they're playing in Murfreesboro. And there's only so many hotel rooms in Murfreesboro to try to get rooms for the girls. And bless her heart, Karen Hall would work all night on Saturday trying to find rooms. But when you get there, you're only guaranteed one game. So if you win, you want to play another night of meals and stuff. So if I was Karen Hall or David Turner, I could see could help you athletically and everything, because it's the unknown factor. You only guaranteed one game, but what if you win? You got to stay another night. You got to feed them again. So that's.
And you've got a bookkeeper that's trying to write a check.
Yes, I mean,
They don't want the check
Yeah.
and the tax exempt form, yeah.
I mean, we would try to call on Saturday. The girls would play on the substate game on Saturday, and the next week they're playing at MTSU. But trying to get rooms was a hassle. Just on your word more than anything. And I see it could help. I'm like Krista, there needs to be some checks and balances there.
Anybody else? Then let's go with that, and Dr. if we bring something in
Yeah,
November,
we can do that.
and that would be helpful, and then we can vote next time. What he brings us or not.
Sure.
Okay, great. All right, and then we will move to the student representatives.
Back to the strategic plan.
Why do I keep saying that? Okay.
It's okay.
No problem. Great, Dr.
All right, our focus for this month is dealing with student success. And this is the first pillar of our new strategic plan that you approved back, seems like 4 years ago, back over the summer. The goal, as a reminder, is to provide excellence and equity in instruction and programs for student success. And if we can go to that first link there, please, the student success information.
I love that dashboard, Mr. Cars, thank you, that's.
So, just as a reminder, this is on our website, and if you don't have a link, we can get this to you or a physical copy. But if you scroll down to the student success part, and you're gonna need to blow that up a little bit so I can read the action steps. So there we go. The goal is at the top, and then we have our 5 action steps there. Delivering strong instructional program, ensuring identified STEAM components are out there. STEAM, STEM, all those come together. Seamless career exploration programs for K through 12, including CAPS, developing and expanding the BLADE one-to-one program to our elementary kiddos, and then also engaging all students in diverse learning environments, including the virtual school. So those are our overall goals, rationale, all those kind of pieces are there for you to look through it and really dig your teeth into more. You go back to the the regular slideshow now. Just want to remind folks of what those different places are where you can find information. One of the topics that I wanted to cover tonight is Portrait of a Graduate. And we're not going to go to the link there necessarily, but the link that you have there that we can share is a link to a fairly recent video that we did at CHS Studios, including Ms. O'Brien, Dr. Lane, Dr. Elliott, and myself, and also Mr. Chai, for a K-12 perspective on Portrait of a Graduate and what it means and what we're trying to do. And I think the video is around 10 minutes long, somewhere in there, 10, 15 minutes long. It'd be well worth your time to review that. And we can send that link to you tomorrow. It's easy enough to do. But we dive into, I'm the Oprah Winfrey of the day. I'm the one moderating and asking the questions and talking a little bit there, but we really tried to dive in and wanted to give a perspective about what we're trying to accomplish with the Culture for Graduate, and to get this ball rolling, to get off the ground and get things started. As I've said before, COVID has taken up a tremendous amount of time. It's still taking up a lot of time, but we also know we have other things to accomplish, and we've got to get rolling on this, and we are, and we have been. So that's a video you can go in and watch sort of what we're doing. The other piece that we really are having to sink our teeth into now deals with our graduation rate and ready graduate information. And I've asked Mr. Carr, since he is the leader of the dashboard and guru of all things data, to spend just a few minutes kind of showing you this graph and the dashboard that goes into graduation rate specifically. And he's going to break down some subgroups for you to show you exactly where subgroups are as far as overall graduation rate, and then based on not just race, but also other factors. And then I'm going to come back and talk about the plan moving forward to address these issues. But of course, anytime you have questions, just feel free to ask either of us.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Dr. Dyer asked to kind of take a look a little bit deeper than just the overall number and talk with you guys. I feel like I'm on a data dashboard tour, but this is the second one we made. We're trying to put data in the hands of the schools and the people making decisions to be able to look at things and compare on a big picture, to be able to then dive in a little bit deeper in the line-by-line student information. So I know that I first want to preface it with the idea that all of this data is delayed, in that what comes out on the report card for graduation rate and ready graduate is always a year behind. So when we're looking though at this particular graph and this dashboard, these are the actual years at the bottom. So sometimes that's confusing when you'll hear that on the 2019 report card it says this. Well, that's actually from a year before. So just know that when you're seeing those state report cards. You do see that in 1920, we ended up at 88.18. That's all students. So what I thought I'd do is just take you on a little bit of a tour of the different subgroups and how those compare. So let me get this worked out to look at. First of all, let's look at, and there's certain subgroups I won't show just because there's so few students in it that we won't want to look at it. But if we wanted to look at race, ethnicity as our first one, we'll just pick the subgroups that comprise about 90% of our population. You can see here the colors on the right show the different subgroups and then how those compare. And you can see over time what's happened. And I think statistically, when you see all of your lines basically behaving the same, that tells you there's a systematic approach and that all of the groups are kind of doing the same thing in school is having a typical impact. It's when you see things like the year before last when all the groups basically intersected and then they spread out in kind of a different way that the school's going to want to look into that. Kind of see why are those subgroups not behaving the same as they were back here in each year. But you can see the subgroups split out and how they compare to the all students. Next thing we can look at is, take these off. We can look at, I know Rennie would want me to show you the CTE concentrator rate. And of course, that usually overperforms our all students because if someone's able to be a CTE completer, that's obviously a good sign and a good predictor of graduation. So,
Can you talk about what a CTE completer is?
oh, I believe that means that they completed three in a
certain concentrated area
of CTE.
So if you took digital media and took 3 classes in digital media, you would be a completer in digital media.
Right. So those are students that have shown a propensity to get into an area and stay in there through higher level courses.
Michael, why was CTE not 4 or 5 previous years? Because we've had it for a while.
The state didn't measure it before that, so when you see a line starts somewhere, that just means the state didn't pull that data out before that.
Okay.
You'll see that on the next graph, which is interesting, which is males versus females. I'll take the all students off for a second. So you can see the state didn't measure that before 2016, 17. But with graphs like this, where you're measuring one part of the population against the other, you're really looking for the gap to narrow. And so even though the rates went down, we are narrowing the gap. There's always been, traditionally, male students have always struggled with graduation rate more than female. So that gap is at least closing between those two. And what we'll look at finally our underserved, traditionally underserved groups like economically disadvantaged, our ELL population. Some of these, like I said, don't have enough students to show publicly, but we'll look at what are traditionally known as underserved groups, and you'll be able to see the same idea here that high school and the district's going to be able to look in and see why is the ELL line not behaving like the others are typically following the same curve, which means that the school's impact is equal among them. And then the ELL is obviously a disruptor in that. And then they're actually were recognized by the state as being one of the highest achieving jumps.
Was the top 5% for, yeah, so that's great.
Is ELL the big drop there?
It's the bright pink, so it's the big drop, and then this last year they were recognized for
Went up so.
bringing that up so much. Yep.
Michael, I've got a question.
Sure.
By closing basically the Denny Center, not having kids down there, it seems to me like since we closed and relocated those students, all of a sudden our graduation rate has gone down into the 80s, which I'm not real happy with either when I read that in the paper compared to some of the areas around us. Is there any correlation between closing our alternative school and putting all the kids at the high school? It seems maybe they performed a little bit better when they were at the alternative schools.
It is one of the things I know the teams looked at and did coincide with that.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things that I thought might be a big factor, and Ms. Ecker may want to speak to that too, from being at the high school. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, because you probably, you may not have stayed all the way yet either, but that's really not as big of a factor as I thought it might have been. And that's what we're seeing is a lot of those kids in the RBA, they're graduating. They're doing what they need to do, and they're doing well. Not every single student in that program is achieving the level we want them to, but I'll tell you what, I'm very proud of the work those kids are doing. Those teachers are doing a fantastic job of integrating myth. So I don't think that may be part of our issue, but it's not the overall where we're seeing the gaps fall. And that's something I'm going to be talking about, what we're planning to do to address this on the next slide and kind of talk about those kind of things. So good question.
All right. Any other questions about grad rate? And I'll move on to ready graduate. Okay.
Probably have to explain what ready graduate is.
Ready graduate, if I remember right, is a student is considered a ready graduate if they score 21 or higher on the ACT, or they do 4 EPSO credits, which are the secondary opportunity credits, or they do 2 EPSO credits and get an industry certification, or Dr. Elliott will check me, 2 EPSOs and an ASVAB score that's on that. I think that's basically the 4 ways to become a
ASVAB is military.
yes, military test. So those are the 4 ways that you can become a ready graduate. So you can see overall, it's basically an indicator that our school is providing quality education and getting students ready for post-secondary. So you can see overall, we had a great jump from 17, 18, 18, 19. This data is not out for 19, 20 yet, but I'm showing you that 42.9 because it will be on the state report card this year as our most recent scoring. So we have an excellent jump in that. And this is a graph that we really can look at all the subgroups at once, even though there'll be a lot of lines on there, because in essence, we did go up in almost every area. The only ones that we struggled in were, interestingly enough, the hot pink line is non-English learners. So they take English learners and they went up like others, but when you take them out and look at only non-English learners, that group's looked a little bit, and then our students with disabilities just down a little bit. But overall, we had great gains in ready graduate rate.
So how did we decipher this data? Because they didn't take tests this year, beginning of the year. And if the students left for spring break and some of them didn't come back, how do we track those students and how do we know how they did and how did that work last spring?
I will, if I can.
This is last year, this is before,
Yeah.
okay.
But one thing I can say for last year is those are the same kind of questions the legislators are asking at the summer study. And that's one of the things we shared is, after spring break, we have students you just can't find. We don't know where they are. And we are still trying to track down students that, diversity is really something that I'm proud of in these schools. It's great that we have students from literally all around the world that attend our school system. But one of the difficulties you find in that is that some of our students leave the country to go back home or even leave the county sometimes. It's really difficult to find where they might have gone to. We go on social media. I mean, you do everything you can do to try to find students. So that is a problem, not just here, but across the state and really across the country that we're trying to address is how do you quantify that? How do you count those students as part of graduation rate and you literally don't know where they might be?
And that doesn't seem like a good use of our district's time and efforts, is to look for these students that choose to disappear, move, not inform the school, or ask for their transcripts to be transferred, or whatever all the ways are we find them. There should be a category for just students that, you do some due diligence, but after that, it should stop. But it hits us in a negative way if we can't find them, doesn't it?
It's
Or
very, that is one part of it, not all of that percentage that's not at 100 is students who were dropouts, or students that didn't graduate. Once a student steps in your building in ninth grade, they become a part of your cohort. So if a number of the students in there are what Dr. Dyer is talking about, that if a student goes to another country, we have to upload PDF documentation verifying we have that parent writing, signing a letter that they went there. Well, it's very difficult to find that student. If they go to another Tennessee public school, we obviously, they know that automatically. We just have to upload documentation for every single student who stepped on our campus for all 4 years.
And what about like homeschool? I'm sure a lot of students left in March and then are homeschooling, and do they have to let you know that? Or
They
guys
do.
that?
We do. They have to document that with the school system.
Do the parents do that?
For independent homeschool, they do have to register through us, and we do, there's a team of 4 at the high school that track down all year, track this documentation down.
So
So
what if they were the church homeschool organization?
we do end up tracking them down ultimately, so we just have to find somebody.
Wow.
It's really a detective agency.
But I want you to hear a team of 4 at the high school that are working, not full-time on this, but a good amount of time. That's what they're doing, is trying to find students that are really hard to find sometimes. So
That's
that's
just
a big
wrong.
job.
That, we should be using our resources to educate the students we have, not to, use personnel to hunt down students that have left for a lot of good reasons, but they're not there anymore and they don't let us know where they go.
And we want to make sure they're getting educated here or in Texas or I think Mexico or wherever they are. We want to make sure they're in school. That's one of the reasons we spend so much time trying to track them down, because they need to be in school and we want them in school. If they're here in Cleveland, they need to be in school.
So anytime after the 9th grade, if they just disappear and do not enroll someplace else where they tell you where they are, that they're there, they count against us.
Correct. From ninth grade on, and our transient population, what it forces is an unequal comparison between districts that might not have a lot of movement and districts that do have a lot of movement. So it's very tough to find every student. And I'm not saying there's, 100 kids that you can't find there, but every kid is 1/3%. So, if you can't find 3 or 4 kids, you're already down 1.5%.
So, Dr. Dyer, what do the big systems do, like Chattanooga or, they've got transient.
We're doing this on a much grander scale, trying to.
Do they have dedicated people that just do that all the time? That's all they do, or?
In Shelby County Schools, we had, where I came from, each high school had more staff than we do in our current high school. And what they would do, they had dedicated people that did nothing but attendance all day long. And so when I was principal of Carterville High School, there were a team of 3 or 4 people that attendance is all they did. It's it, nothing else, and that was all. And they were in charge of tracking down and doing all those kind of things. So it does become a personnel thing, and money. Like,
Is there anyone anywhere that has a plan on how to track students down? Some
Well-
state that looks really good? You
We're
know,
gonna
they-
be talking about that
You're
on the
gonna
next
reinvent
slide.
the
So
wheel.
that's something, that's somewhere we're going, because we're
Okay.
gonna need to find that.
Yeah.
Those models that are out there that, and there are things, I don't want it to sound like we're making excuses, because
Right.
these are the facts, what you're seeing here. And I'm not somebody who likes to hide anything. I'm just gonna put it out in the public. Here's where we are. Now we have to do something. So this is where we are, and now we have to do something. And that's what we have to find the magic. Well, it's not gonna be magic. It's gonna be hard work. So we have to find what are the things that are gonna make the biggest difference for us moving forward.
So say we have a family that comes in and has two kids that go to high school, and these are freshmen. And some COVID outbreak or at Christmas, they leave, and we can't track them. Do we carry those students for the next 3.5 years until graduation might come up, and then that counts against our graduation rate?
Yes, and I'm glad Dr. Dyer brought it up. I do want you to know I meet monthly with that team, and they really look at each withdrawal of every kid. We upload PDFs of documentation that the state reviews, and some they send back, and we try to find what they really want from ninth grade on. So every withdrawal from the high school has a very thorough process, and they never, that folder will sit there for 4 years as they try to find that kid. So, yeah, it's a very big delay, like the things that we do now are gonna affect us in 3 more years.
And if they didn't give you the correct name when they first entered, you know, they could go someplace else, enter under a different name.
It's difficult, I'll say that. It's once someone leaves and they didn't have a lot of connections here in Cleveland, it's very difficult to find people that hunt that person down. So other states don't provide us who they enroll. So they can go to Georgia, and we can't figure out if they've registered in another state.
And some may not want to be found.
That happens a lot too. And this is a national thing.
It's not just
a
here.
federal law that we do this, but it's very difficult for a district with a lot of transient students.
If we have a good population of transit students, much more than you might find in other districts close to us.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we need to let every student that enters, when they come in, tell them how serious it is for us as a school system not to know where they've gone. If they would just let us know. I mean, some maybe they may know, think it doesn't make any difference.
Well, I know when new students come in, the guidance counselor, school counselors meet with them, and I think an administrator does too, to guide them, take them on tour, to talk to the parents. So that's something that I know they take very seriously.
We track down everyone they used to know.
Right.
And they said, well, he's not here anymore, he doesn't live with us anymore. I said, well, we're gonna keep calling your number until somebody comes in with withdrawal. So
Yeah.
we track them down, across the country.
And they do a great job.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of them, but we just can't get all of them.
Sometimes they come back and ask for transfers for jobs. Hi, we got you now.
Yeah.
But it's 6 years instead of 4, and then
Right.
There's almost as many documents that we upload as there are graduates. If you want to think of it that way. Over 4 years, the number of withdrawals that we are documenting in the state is really almost approaching the number of actual graduates. So it's a lot.
A lot of moving back and forth.
You know, this doesn't start just when they're in high, this starts from the time they enter school. Because, you know, we, as teachers and as principals, we used to spend hours trying to find children who didn't re-enroll, say if they were in kindergarten and they didn't come back to first grade. We would have called all the phone numbers on their card. So it, you know, it's a big thing beginning
It
in
is.
first grade, actually.
It is, and that's something we're gonna talk about when we get into this next part. But I'll just say this too. We've had a number of virtual students that registered that haven't signed on. And I don't know what that number is today. Dr. Elliott, I'm guessing probably around 20.
Yeah, or just
So-
a few more than that, actually.
So there's gonna be extra students, and this is not just here, this is nationwide. This is something that school district superintendents are talking about nationwide. there are lost students out there that have registered but have not shown up, that we're still trying to locate. That number started much higher. We have located a lot of our kids, but there are a good number that we're still trying to track down, and that's the same in school districts across our state right now. So, the problem, it's an issue, but we're going to have to figure it out. So, unless you have other questions, we'll go to the next slide and talk about how we're going to move forward with this. So, you can go to the next. There we go. So, what we're going to do is form a portrait of a graduate and student success task force. As I've said, we can't deny or use excuses just to say, this is why we can't get this number to whatever. We've got to form a plan and tackle it this head on. And this is what we're going to do. As we've done with other projects such as Blade and rezoning and other issues that are big issues, we're going to have a steering committee model with subcommittees. So the steering committee is going to be led by me. I'm going to chair this committee. And then we're going to have elementary subcommittee chaired by Phil Bender, from secondary CTE CAPS program subcommittee chaired by Dr. Barnes and Bree Wittenbarger, and also a Ready Graduate and Graduate Rate subcommittee chaired by Michael Cars. And these three subcommittees are going to be made up of educators, they're going to be made up of students. We're going to have students on the committees. We're going to have community folks, really trying to sink our teeth into, in the elementary schools, and this is just an example, so you can see objectives. I'll get back to the second bullet in a minute, but some of the objectives we're going to be going after are how do we close the gaps that are showing up on our achievement test when we take an achievement test again, or our benchmarking test that we take all the time. We have good data, even though we may not have state data, we have local data. And honestly, I think I put a lot more faith in our local data than I do the state data anyway. Portrait for graduate implementation. This is not just a high school thing. Graduate rate is not just a high school issue. It's a K through 12 issue. I firmly believe that. It starts in kindergarten, starts in pre-K all the way through. So we have to start addressing these things at the beginning and work it all the way through high school. What does personalized learning look like for us here in Cleveland City Schools? And part of that is, virtual school of Cleveland. Maybe that's the way that a student can do their best work, is through a virtual program or something other than a traditional classroom setting. There are things that we can look at as far as that goes. Our interventions, whether it be RTI or other interventions that we have in place, are we intervening early enough? Are we intervening the right way with the student? What can we do to improve our processes? How can we set incremental increases in graduation rate, ACT, graduate rate, other data points, but do it through science, do it through looking at data and actually making decisions on where we need to be over the next 4 to 5 years, and not just making hunches, but, scholarly decisions on what we need to do to move our system in the right direction. How do we better engage our parents and community? How do we better engage the new CAPS program and then other strategic plan objectives? And one of the things that I think we need to do is partner with an outside group that has great experience doing just this. And NIET, the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching, is now the new president is Dr. McQueen, the former Commissioner of Education here in Tennessee, and she's taking this on. And that group has come in and done some work with us on teacher evaluations, and I'll tell you what, that was some of the better training that I've seen take place in school systems where I've been. They did that, gosh, when was that? In school last year in May with our school administrators, and it was really, really in-depth, and I think everyone really enjoyed that. NIET has done work like this in other school systems in other states. We would be one of the first that they would help in this process here in Tennessee, but they've done work in Louisiana with school systems that look very similar to us. And I'm not looking for us to use them to buy a new product or to start some kind of new initiative, but I want us to look at what are the things that we're doing now and what can we improve. We said that part of the strategic plan, a big chunk of it that we talked about was, if this is what we say we're about, then we need to be about this work and get this work accomplished, which may mean that we stop doing this over here or that over there, And sometimes it's better if you have an outside group come in and help you to do those kind of things. So we've got our work cut out for us. What I would hope to do is start with our first meeting at some point a little bit later in October and really carry this work through the month of February. That gives us plenty of time to sink our teeth into it, like I've said several times already. My goal would be to bring in March to the school board meeting whatever it is that we've developed that we need to do moving forward. And that would give us March, April, May, June, July to really kick into gear for next school year, whatever it is that we say we need to do year one. And it's going to be a lot of looking at data. It's going to be a lot of analysis, a lot of getting into our schools and looking at everything from master schedules to interventions to you name it. I don't even know right now what all we're going to look at. But not trying to just overturn the apple cart, but there are things that we need to look at and take a deep, hard look at to see, a practice that worked 20 years ago may not work today, but we may still be doing some of those things. So we're going to do it. If you give me the green light, we're going to dive into this and we're going to dig deep and of course keep you all informed along the way. But that's something that I really think this is what we need to do if we're going to move the needle. These folks and others that aren't here today are working so incredibly hard, our principals and teachers. But I think it's time that we really stop, take a hard look, take our strategic plan, look at our budget, look at all these things, make sure that we're on the right footing to move forward. So with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions with Dr. Elliott, academic team as well. There'll be a lot of pieces to this.
Are we looking at our registration sheet to see if we could get phone numbers or addresses of people that would know a little bit more?
Well, and we do have that now. We have.
For up to, when they register, we have offer up to 12 contacts. So we collect a lot more data trying to get to that end of trying to contact.
Yeah.
But we will be looking, we will be looking at processes. How do we process things? We're going to be looking at procedures. We're going to be looking at, I want us to look at everything. Anything we can get our hands on and quantify and data points, those are the kind of things we need to be digging into and
We need to filter.
yeah.
Anybody else have questions?
I may not have all the answers right now.
Dr. Dyer, I
Because this
think
is
our
something-
strength is our diversity, and
Absolutely.
with that, we get those extra challenges, and I'm sure a lot of school systems have those extra challenges as well. So I like that you're gonna go outside and get somebody to come in and look, and see what we can do to improve there. Again, I don't wanna make excuses, I want every child that walks through our doors to be successful, but it's kind of disingenuous that we have to count as not being successful if they leave and we can't find them, that dings against us, but it does that to every school system, not just
Right.
ours, so, anything we can do to make that better, I wouldn't change our system for anything, as far as the diversity that's in there,
Yeah.
and transient students are part of that.
Absolutely. And I will tell you too, NIET is a national organization, but their leadership is based right here in Tennessee. And that was a big thing for me too. They know our standards, they know our political structure, they know the testing in Tennessee, they know all those pieces of the puzzle. Another trainer may come here from Pittsburgh or whatever the case may be, but they're based here and they know us. And I know them.
I would love to see our scores, if we could eliminate those that they count against us that we can't find. What would our scores look like?
Yeah, I don't know if there's a way to quantify that or not. That's something Michael and I can talk about it later, but it could be something.
Because I think we do a really good job.
We've said, and I don't have the numbers here to show it, but, the students that come to us in kindergarten
Yeah.
and stay with us kindergarten through elementary school, middle school, and high school do extremely well. They do extremely well. And they graduate at a high level. We could probably pull that data and show you at some point. I don't know how you do all that stuff. He does, probably. But that's something that we can show you. It's what we have to really think about are our transient students, those that come in for K through 3, and then they go somewhere else, and they come in for 8th grade, and they may go here, and then they come back for 10th grade. that's where school systems struggle, not just us, that's where school systems struggle. And that's something we've got to do a better job with. We've got to figure that out.
Dave, did you have a question? Oh, okay, I thought you did. Anybody have any more questions about that? Good luck, I'll be looking forward to March to see
Yeah.
what.
Me too. It's gonna be, this is gonna be a lot of work. And we know that, and I do want to say, I don't want to overwhelm our teaching staff, our school administrators. They're already working so hard. So we're gonna be real careful as we walk through this, and the negotiations are ongoing with NIET about what we're going to do and not do. And again, this is not something where we go out and buy a new product off the shelf and say, okay, we're not gonna be the whatever district that we just bought this off the shelf. That's not what this is about. This is about looking at what we're doing already and what we need to do to improve our practices.
You can bring outside eyeballs in sometimes,
Absolutely.
get a look, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Is that it for that?
That's all I have. That's enough for
Well,
today.
now we can go Skylar. Skylar.
Well, if there's one word I can describe this last month with, it's success. Because we've had a lot of student success in the past month, especially with seniors. And our volleyball team has gone undefeated in the district, which is awesome. We did do the college athlete and we passed the Olden, so seniors have been working on that. Tennessee Promise, we had our ACT dates, which personally I really enjoy having the pre-ACT available freshman and sophomore year, and ACT junior and senior year, and I would know every student takes advantage of that. So we've had a lot of acceptances to colleges already, and which is great because we're only in the, we only just passed the first 9 weeks. Notable colleges include UTC, Lee, Tennessee Tech. I know one girl who's got accepted to the University of Montana, so they're already going all over the country. Our homecoming court and our SGA representatives were elected just this past month. And senior nights for soccer and volleyball, specifically the girls' teams, were conducted over this past month. We are very proud of our football team for their hard work and their discipline, especially against Bradley. It may not have turned out how we wanted it to, but I know that they worked very hard to accomplish what they do. And with our coming back from fall break, we're starting our homecoming week. So there's a lot of prep going on right now, and like today was pajama day, tomorrow's like cowboy day. I'm especially excited for baby day. But yeah, it's definitely been a lot of motivating seniors. One shout out that I'd like to give is to our golf team who came 7th in their tournament, and Hannah Knoll came in 6th individually. So that's an awesome accomplishment right there.
And she signed to go to the league.
I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to check on that.
Play golf.
But yeah, that's my update.
Good, things are going on even with the COVID.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, thank you, Scotty. I'm supposed to appoint the delegates to the TSBA annual convention, and as you know, we all can access the delegate packet online and look at the issues. But our voting delegates will be Tom, Nate, Carolyn, and Krista this year, and Peggy's going to be alternate. And Julie will turn those names into TSBA, so you all will have the vote at that time. And hopefully we can talk about those issues before the time comes that are on that delegate packet. I've gone through it kind of quickly. Doesn't look like there's anything very controversial, but a lot of valuable input for our legislators there. So if y'all don't mind starting, I appreciate that. I want to thank Carolyn. I want to congratulate Carolyn for becoming our new Southeast Area Director for TSBA. So she will be serving on the TSBA board. It's 3 years, isn't it, Carolyn? And
for this year, for the gal who is now elected.
so she gets to finish this and then have 3 years. And you're going to be such an asset to that board, Carolyn, because you can look at education through all different lenses, but also I think that the Southeast District Director we haven't had one in this part of Tennessee for a while. So you had great support as I called people and asked them to vote for you, and everybody knew you already. I didn't have to tell them who you were or anything, and that was from Etowah to Ray County to Meigs County. They were like, oh, we know Carol. And so,
Been around a lot.
you have been around, but you are very respected and loved, and so people, I think, they didn't tell us the vote count, but I'm sure it must have been landslide. So congratulations to you.
I look forward to working, from the standpoint of the state. I think it'll be exciting, and I appreciate Don, twisting my arm to get me to say that I need to keep it run, so.
We've got a good board here, all of you, and
Keep it experienced.
would be an asset to the TSBA board. And I see that Keith Flower is going to rise to the president-elect's position, so it'll be kind of fun to serve with Keith, a Cleveland guy has served and is chairman of the Oak Ridge School Board, so there's probably familiar faces on that board for you. I want to remind you all, we have our facilities meeting October 29th at 9 o'clock here. Dr. Dyer and Hal and everybody, Julie, are preparing lots of good things for us to discuss and look at and decide about. I would like to say, I hope we're going to get some money from the bond that the county is going to go get for the PISA. And so as we know, the city helps pay those bonds, so the city gets part of that. And they haven't gone to the bond market yet, have they?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, I saw in the paper that they're talking about it, but that should be happening this month. And so we'll have a little bit of money to spend besides the sales tax, we hope. We'll see. Although Cindy will probably have it all spent before we just pay off the bonds. Cindy, when are the Arnold Mayfield bonds finished? Is it 2 more years? Do you remember? Seems like it was 23 or.
There's some in 22, some in 27, I think.
Okay. I just can't wait till we get those paid off, get lots of our bonds, but those are the ones that city schools are paying, by ourselves, so those will be good for the bonds. But anyway, don't forget to put that on your calendar. Dr. Dyer, you have anything else?
Have you done?
Does anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Bring the board? Okay, then we will adjourn by general consent. Okay. Thank you. Have a good evening.
Sure.